Hey, all right, we're going to continue with sex addiction. Okay, I want to give some examples of sex addictions. And the question is, should you stay or should you go? Should you stay or should you leave when you are with a sex addict? That's a tough question. And I know that when you're in that situation with someone that is actually addicted to certain activities sexually, it might be a difficult decision for you because you are either in love, not in love, angry, frustrated, not satisfied in so many different directions or different issues with the relationship that you're confused. And when a sex addict doesn't pay your attention, that's a biggie, right? All right. So I love sort of like thinking out of the box. I always like to put myself in the other person's shoes. So bear with me. This is my opinion again. This is not in any textbook. This is not a medical discussion. This is more of Dr. Kathy and discussing with you based on life experiences, okay? Not medical advice. What is the reason you would stay or go? All right, you've got to be able to make a judgment, a social judgment for yourself, a interpersonal relationship decision, right? What's a judgment? All right, get this one now. A judgment definition is very important here because you have to know what is involved in making that judgment, right? We don't want the legal judgment term. We don't want the legal one in the courts. We want a simple social judgment decision or definition. Okay, it's the mental ability. You've got to be there. You've got to be able to make that mental assessment of the situation, right? Mental assessment, unbiased. Looking at it from his angle, looking at it from your angle, looking at it from all sorts of angles, right? I'm really big into having different opinions, people's advice, sometimes close family, not anybody. And you have to gather that information so that you have an informed decision to make or choices to make, right? So you've got to collect that information and you have to have the mental clarity for that. If you're not mentally clear, don't do it. You've got to wait until you're mentally clear or get some help. Then you've got to form that opinion based on all the information you've gathered. And once you form that opinion, you then have to make a decision. That's the judgment. That's the decision that you're going to make that will make you decide to stay or to go. Okay? All right. So, what would make you stay? What would make you go? What type of sex act is that? Is it an act that is a deal breaker, you cannot deal with it? Or is it something that you can deal with? Because if you are dealing with a sexual addiction that is not really out of the ordinary, not too crazy, and it's something that you can work with it, right? That is something that you have to decide. But if you can't work with it, then you cannot work with it, and that is a deal breaker for you. So you're going to have to decide whether you're going to stay or go based on that. But there are other things to consider, right? Remember, I said you've got to get all the information. So the type of sex addict is important. The type of sex act is important. The time he spends with you is important. Is the time spent always doing that sex act? Or does he spend time with you? Quality time with you, right? 5 languages of love. Is he giving that to you the way you want it? Is he worth the fight? Pros and cons, so many things to consider. So the time he spends with you, does he take you out on a date, right? Does he take you out to games and see his friends and family, trips, vacations? Do you have that special quality time with him? Or is it he's always performing that sex act and you don't know and he's gone, he's away? Very important. Again, collect that information, have an understanding of what's going on in your life regarding a sex addict, okay? Is he helping you with chores around the house, right? Is he helping with the children if you have children, okay? Is he helping with school, right? Does he spend time talking with you, communicating with you, right? Does he make sweet love to you? Now that's important, right? If you are in a relationship with a sex addict, you might not be getting sexually satisfied because he might be feeling guilty and you might be feeling upset, But that is something you have to resolve. You've got to get some clarity as to whether you can sexually be together. Because if you're not having sex, we're not going to be happy. Okay? Sometimes there's a sexless marriage, and if that's the arrangement you want, you're entitled to it. But again, remember my fives: sex, looks, heart, money, brains. What's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for you? If sex is number one, you got to make sure that you're getting sex and being satisfied, right? If brains, looks, money, heart is number one, then you have to choose and see, based on your judgment, based on your assessment, whether you are going to be able to deal with this or not. Okay? So if someone is in a sexual relationship with an addict, you've got to make sure that you know that you've added up the pros and cons and you decide to stay or to go. Okay? Is there any legal actions involved, right? If there's legal actions, how serious or how dangerous are you? What's your safety? You've got to make sure you're safe, right? But if he's innocent, if it's something that's not too bad and something just is bothering you for religious reasons, maybe you got to see the pastor, right? You got to see someone that you can actually talk about with this religious aspect, because a lot of times people use religion and it destroys relationships. Because remember, I said before, religion is not supposed to be in the picture when it comes to sex. Why? Because I'm truly a firm believer, again, my own opinion, that religion is not a textbook on sex. It is more a guidance on how your morals and your values should be, and how you should treat one another and love one another, and of course, worship the Lord and worship your religion, worship your God. But when it comes to sex, this is not someone that something that you can discuss with in terms of these gods that we have, because they are not, you know, detailed, right? We need some detailed stuff regarding sex, and that's what we're here to do, give you some help when it comes to details, right? You know me, I want you to have the best orgasm in the world. So if you're with a sex addict, are you getting the best orgasm in the world, right? If you're not, that's another deal breaker for some people like me. You've got to have great sex. Remember, it's an indication of their health. If they're healthy, they're having great sex. If they're not healthy, you're not having great sex. So find out what's going on. Is he healthy? Is he not? Get him healthy. Get yourself healthy to have great sex. Remember, that's what I'm here to do. Get you healthy, okay? So, is there time to to just have quiet time, right? Go to the movies, right? Uh, do you read together? All right. Do you go and work out together, exercise? Do you work together? Do you help each other, at work? So there's so many aspects to look at. So remember, gather that information, get a clear understanding, form an opinion, make that decision, and act and decide whether you're going to stay or not. But I'm going to really encourage you, sex addicts that don't harm anybody, but it's between you and your partner, should be something you can work out. Do not use religion. Do not use your family. Do not use your friends to make this decision. You make it on your own with your partner, and have a good, clear understanding of what you want, and find out what he needs, and make sure you're looking at it from both sides, right? Not just your side. Okay, I want to give you some examples, all right, because I do see patients that have sex addictions, and I want you to tell me what you think, okay? Meaning, I want you to form your own opinion of what you would do, and let me know what you think. Case number one, okay. So I had this couple referred to me by a psychiatrist, and the issue was that he would watch alien porn in her absence. So they were married for about a year, and they didn't have great sex. She was very religious, and he was an artist. So it was like they got together. They're very, very beautiful couple, but they got together because they fell in love and did not have sex before marriage. So this is something that she was a virgin, and she eventually had sex when they were married. And when they did, I understand that it was not satisfying for him. So he used alien porn, meaning, yeah, anime and stuff like that, to satisfy himself without telling her. So he was not honest about it. She finds out one day, walks in and he's doing it, and she goes berserk. She just goes crazy, and she calls her pastor, and the pastor sends her to both of them to get counseling, and a psychiatrist refers them to me because they know I talk about sexual issues. They come to me, and in a nutshell, he's saying that she just lies there and is not involved in the sexual activity, that he needs something to get him going, to arouse him, and that's where he found alien porn, which is all those cartoon porn sites that we see. But you'll realize that he's an artist, so he's going to have that artistic need to try and get things stimulated in his mind artistically. And so I tried to counsel them, and I said to them, first of all, is this a deal breaker? And she said for her, because of religion, it was a deal breaker. But I told you cannot put religion in this situation. You cannot. So she took religion out of the picture. And luckily for him, he was very kind to her. So he loved her. She was just a beautiful woman, but very, very serious and very, very religious. So when I asked her to take out religion, just when it came to our discussion, so that we could have an unbiased and uninfluenced religious discussion, just, common sense conversations, she then realized that if she's lying there like a plank to an artist, that is not going to work. She realized that he's looking for creativity in the bedroom, and that sex was very important to him, but not to her. She was very willing to get together and improve that, relationship sexually. So she was going to go for some classes and learn how to improve her sexual prowess in the bedroom. And she was, of course, coming to me for that. But she got much better, and they were able to save their marriage. And they were able to continue with their marriage up till today, because she opened her eyes and she realized he was very good to her. It was just the alien porn. Now, did he stop the alien porn? Nope, he did not. But she allowed him to do it, and they had some schedule where he would do it a certain number of times a month and then not do it when, of course, around her, because she just couldn't partake. But the good thing is that they had that open communication, and he learned how to satisfy her, and she learned how to satisfy him. Not in all regards, but in more ways than she had been doing earlier. Okay, so the good thing there is that she was able to stay. She made a judgment to stay, and it worked out. Another case, a little bit more complicated. Couple met in a strip club. So they were in strip clubs from the beginning of the relationship, and they were married for about 15 years. Then they had dallied into threesomes. So they had done some threesomes on and off. And when they did that, they had some rules that they agreed to, and that was they were going to make sure that everything was sort of clear what was allowed and was not allowed. They had those rules. And it just so happened on one occasion, he didn't follow the rules, and she got very upset and canceled all the strip club going and canceled all the threesomes and all the different fun they were having sexually. And he's agreed because he felt bad, he felt guilty, and apologized, and she accepted the apology, but her trust in him had gone out the window, and so she shut it down. And when she shut it down, he was very disappointed, but tried to hang in there. Came to me and told me a few times that he was having a hard time because he grew up in the strip club. He was there most of his life. He's been going there all his life. And I knew this because that is, how he was brought up. She also had a connection to the strip club too. She wasn't a stripper, but she had, members and family members and people that were associated with the strip club. And so she knew that he was definitely addicted to going to the strip club and sort of addicted to threesomes, okay? Now, did they do more? They probably did, but I didn't get into that. So when she shut it down, a year later, he had an affair. And the affair he had was with someone from the strip club. So she said, oh my God, I can't help it. I'm going to go crazy. Now I'm going to let him go to the strip club. Now I'm going to let him have threesomes, but it was too late. He had said he wasn't interested in it anymore because I think it was tough for him to accept that his wife did that to him, right? Couldn't forgive, even though she says she forgave. couldn't forgive. So I did everything I could, try to get them to see each other. But what happened was that when they saw each other, they saw a different person. She said, I don't know who you are. Because I do some evaluations, I do some uh, questionnaires that they fill out. And she says, that's not you. He goes, yep, that's me. And so they had a revelation of they were so different. And guess what? She was desperately trying to get back. But in the end, she said, I don't think so. And he eventually was very grateful that she could see that it was not going to work out. So they split up, got divorced, and they both got married to someone else that was more fit for them in terms of what they do. And I can tell you up to today, that ended up very well because she was desperate at first, losing herself, but did find herself when we talked about her temperament and her personality and who she really was and how she has to put herself first. Remember, you got to put yourself first. Always put yourself first. Never the guy, yourself. No one's first except you. No parents, no kids, no mother, no father, nobody. You are number one. Remember, so you put yourself first, and she did. She had to learn how to do that. And we were successful in getting her to be strong and into another relationship, which she is in till today. Okay? So, my advice, sex addiction is not easy. You've got to add up all the different pros and cons. You got to feel comfortable staying in that relationship. If you don't feel safe, you don't feel comfortable, you have to make the decision to come out. You've got to make the decision to come out because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. And it should be something that you know from your gut feeling and instinct that, this is not going to work out. But make sure you gather all information, form that opinion, then make the decision, right? Make that judgment call. And hopefully, if you need help, you reach out for help, psychiatrist, therapist, psychologist, someone like me that will help you go and figure out what is right and what is wrong, even though it all depends on how you use it and how you view it, right? Okay, guys, just wanted to talk about that. We'll talk about something else tomorrow and have a great night. Take care.